Olale from our newsroom as we dissect the visit that was and...
Excitement greeted the former US president's return to Kenya, but it is not entirely something to smile about in as far as the war on corruption goes.
That's right, the ghost of unimplemented plans continues to haunt Kenya, even in broad daylight. Many unemployed Kenyans hopelessly grope in the dark, created by a culture so deep that it extends a live wire to its own.
Also, the Director of Public Prosecution's shockwaves have stunned Kenya power in the latest instance of senior state officials standing in negative light.
Constituting the gallery of corruption cases are individual pictures of compromised individuals digging into others' livelihoods to better their own, and unfortunately, this is a trait so pervasive of the big boys but cuts across and down to the common mananchi, with the levels in between being part of it.
We shall also call out theft for what it is in our continued bold and biased and authoritative coverage of the state of corruption. Let's get into the highlights. Tonight, a hit and run and a family's search for justice for their 22-year-old girl as driver responsible tried to cover up crime.
I only saw her fly in the air. The car didn't stop. It was speeding.
Also tonight, the Kenya Power Company's top management's fight to shake off 6 charges of economic crimes.
Plus, 3 students of Nguviu boys in Embu suspected of torching their school, arrested as school is closed indefinitely.
And also tonight, a straight shooting Obama's message to Kenyan leaders on graft and creating equal opportunities for all.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Welcome to the broadcast, and our sign language presenter for tonight is Boniface Muredi.
A prison warder at the Nairobi West Prison is at the center of a hit-and-run incident that left the victim dead, with family members of the deceased saying there is a conspiracy to tamper with the case to help the suspect get away with the offense.
Prison warder Dismas Gitenge Motongwe is said to have rammed Maureen Wamboi with his car along Mombasa Road and sped off with her body only to dump it and run away.
NTV's Charity Mwangi starts this bulletin with the details of what appears to be a conspiracy to defeat justice.
The family of the late Maureen Wamboi gathered at the Industrial Area Police Station seeking justice for their daughter who was killed while crossing Mombasa Road Sunday morning.
Some distance away, slightly close to me, she decided to cross the road. And that's why she got knocked by the car. I only saw her fly in the air. The car didn't stop. It was speeding. It didn't even attempt to save the life of my girl.
Family and friends inspect the vehicle that cut short the life of the 22-year-old Kenyatta University third-year student. She was in the company of her boyfriend some minutes to 5 a.m. in the morning when the incident happened right outside the Next Gen Mall along Mombasa Road. He narrates how the vehicle that hit his beloved drove on without a second thought, with her body laying on the roof. A frantic search that followed.
He didn't even brake, he didn't even swerve, he didn't even stop. He just went. I tried chasing the car by foot, but it was in vain.
A second visit to Nairobi South Hospital gave Dennis Baragu the answers he was seeking. A female body had been discovered around the South Sea area that matched his girlfriend, more than 3 kilometers from where the accident happened.
But she asked me, "Who are you looking for? A lady?" I told her yes. She told me that there was a body that had been dumped.
When the family got to the scene where the body had been dumped, they found Wamboi laying face down, and next to her was the number plate of the suspect's car. But the number plate will not remain at the scene for long.
The police started asking how can the number plate disappear without anyone even seeing. I approached those border guys and asked them if they had seen somebody who has picked the number plate. And they told me there was someone who came and spoke to the police and later on took the number plate.
From that point, the suspect, Sergeant Dismas Gitenge Motongwa of the Kenya prisons, attached at the Nairobi West Prison, is said to have allegedly carried out a plan to conceal the crime with what appears to be the full backing of his fellow officers. The first action was to make a false report to explain his dented car.
He proceeded to the industrial area police station, where he came to report saying that he had actually hit a cow. That he had hit a cow instead of saying he had hit a human being.
How does that make you feel?
Very painful, very angered.
In harsh tones, the family overheard a second plot to charge the suspect with a lesser charge that would only warrant a slap on the wrist.
Aliweza kupotea na body from the scene of crime na akaenda akadamp na ajaribu kufisha ile evidence. So hiyo charge hajaandikiwa. Tunaweza taka aadikiwe that charge because ndio iko na uzito kwa hii case.
The police officers handling the case then misled the family of the deceased, which led the family missing the mentioning of the case at the Milimani law courts. Maureen's boyfriend was also excluded from the witness list, which is strange as he is the sole witness in the case. The suspect has been released on a 50,000 cash bail. Whenever an accident takes place, it is common knowledge what the involved parties ought to do. However, it is quite unfortunate that a law enforcement officer failed to follow the said guidelines and instead chose to conceal the evidence. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Kenya Power Managing Director Ken Terus and former MD Ben Chuma will spend another cold night in police cells today.
That's right. This is after Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti pushed the ruling on the application for bail to Tuesday morning. The two, alongside 11 others, denied charges of conspiracy to commit an economic crime and abuse of office and failure to comply with the procurement laws.
NTV's Silas Apollo was at the courts and brings us the following report.
Another busy day at the Milimani Anti-Corruption Court today, as the 13 suspects took turns to answer to charges raised against them by the Director of Public Prosecution. On the dock was suspended KPLC Managing Director Ken Terus and his predecessor Ben Chumo, the company's corporate affairs manager Beatrice Meso, other company senior officials and business people implicated in the scam. In applying for bail for the accused, the defense lawyers led by senior counsel Tom Ojienda poked holes into arguments by the prosecution, arguing that it was the right of the accused to be given bail based on the principle of innocence until proven guilty.
No material has been supplied to this court through the affidavit of Walter Oginga Okello, Inspector of Police, sworn today, that any of these accused persons has any antecedents, associations, or ties that may characterize or define the said accused person as a flight risk.
The prosecution had in its submission argued that granting the accused bail would compromise the case given the nature of the offences that they face.
Let them put it in form of an affidavit instead of attacking the prosecutors, the investigators, and possibly even the court without a way of dealing with it in an affidavit.
The defense team also took issue with what they termed as the inhumane weekend arrest of the suspects, who they said were forced to spend at least 2 nights in police custody before taking plea.
What was this that compelled the Kenya police, who have a solid reputation for investigations? What is this that would impel them to raid somebody's home on Friday night and at 1 a.m.?
The suspects who appeared before Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti were charged with 6 accounts of abuse of office, failure to comply with procurement laws, fraudulent acquisition of public funds, and a conspiracy to commit an economic crime.
This matter is adjourned to 17th July 2018 at 8 a.m. Accused to be held at the Gigiri police station.
And just like it was in the NYS case, today marks the beginning of yet another legal battle, this time for the managers of the KPLC, with the DPP and the DCI believer to blame for the management woes at the institution. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Well, there have been changes at the helm of Kenya Power following that scandal that involved the former CEO and the current MD.
I mean, the weekend has been busy from the DCI and also from the DPP, and there's so much that I think Kenyans expect from all this, among many other corruption cases. But let's go right to the story where Engineer Jared Omondi Otieno has been appointed acting managing director of the Kenya Power Company following the arrest and prosecution of Ken Terus, who is now suspended.
Terus faces charges of conspiring to commit an economic crime. Announcing the changes at the helm of the power utility company, Energy Cabinet Secretary Charles Keter said the new team will steer the company for the next 3 months as the curtains lift, exposing the rot at the power utility company.
Well, this is following a lot of activities that have been happening over the weekend, but this right here is the story.
The board has met this morning. They have looked around because we need to continue. And they have proposed some names, which they have consulted with us. And we are giving them a timeline. The team I'm going to announce is the team to spearhead for the next 3 months, as they continue to now continue with their restructuring program. So get me right. And this is a team collective responsibility.
And that informs our question of the day, which is, what do you think is enabling corruption to thrive in Kenya? You can send your thoughts to the SMS number 20686. That is free of charge. And that question again is, what do you think is enabling corruption to thrive in Kenya? And the SMS number is 20686. And again, that is free of charge. Dennis, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's so much to look into all this because the new DPP has really been at the forefront of getting names, and Kenyans have been asking for what happens to the big fish apart from just going after the small fish. So there's much more I think Kenyans expect, so it's going to be so much pressure on the DPP.
That is very true, and we are eager to hear your thoughts on that. In fact, we have a bit of more information on the developments at Kenya Power.
Well, we have several names that have been mentioned by the DPP and the DCI. Some of those have been arrested, but we also have some new appointments. And some of these new appointments, we have changes in management, and that's Engineer Jared Omondi, who's now the acting MD. And we also have the Gichu George Kiiru, who's the GM Business Strategy. We also have Imelda Bore, who's the GM Corporate Affairs, and Ambrose Lamaon, who's the GM Finance. More names still. We also have, from the Kenya Power, changes in management. David Monandi, who's the GM Human Resource and Administration. Titus Makau Kitavi, the GM ICT. Charles Cheruiyot, who's the GM Internal Audit. And Dr. Jeremiah Kiptanui, who's the Director, Kenya Power International. Those are some of the names in the Kenya Power Shakedown, and we expect more to come in the course of this week.
Staying with that, there is, of course, David Mwaniki, who's the GM Infrastructure Network Management. We also have Agre Jesambuli, who's the GM Customer Service for the region, for regional coordination. There is Joyce Awinja, who is the GM Supply Chain, Joseph Gadhuru, who's the GM Connectivity, Peter Waweru, who is the General Manager Street Lighting.
Well, those are the many names, and we expect more to come in the course of the week. But let's go now to one of the stories that we've been following for you. Former U.S. President Barack Obama has hailed the government's current fight against corruption, but at the same time said more needs to be done to completely eradicate the vice.
Obama, who officially launched the Sautiku Foundation in Kogelo, Siaya County, also noted that the opportunities available in the country will give youth the scope to develop at home rather than travel abroad.
Well, Trevor Ombija has been following this story right in Kogelo the entire day. Trevor Ombija, I know you've had a very long day following up and chasing after U.S. President Barack Obama. Tell us what has happened from where you are.
Thanks, Dennis and Olive, and it's great to see you guys on air. Welcome aboard. That's the best I could say for now. Live from Nyangoma in Kogelo. This is in Siaya County. It's a rather quiet night, though, very different from yesterday. There was a lot of activity here just before the former U.S. president stepped in. But he's already left. He left about 5 hours ago. He left at around 5 p.m. The residents here, there's a lot of mixed reactions. They're happy that he showed up, but they're not happy that they could not talk to him directly. There are several reactions that we gathered during the day, but before that, the function was happening just about 2 kilometers from where I'm standing. There was massive security, even we could not access that venue. Inside that place, the former U.S. president hailed the government's effort to fight corruption, but he said that more needs to be done in order to stamp out that vice completely, just like you rightfully mentioned, Dennis and Olive. But he also said that there are more opportunities for the youth in the country, and they do not have to travel abroad to seek for those opportunities, as NTV's Mel Miendo reports.
Former U.S. President Barack Obama says eradicating corruption will be key in creating opportunities for all and especially the youth.
Despite some of the tumultuous times that seem to attend every election, we now have a president and a major opposition leader who have pledged to build bridges and have made specific commitments to work together. So what we see here in Kenya is all part of an emergent, more confident, and more self-reliant Africa. But we know that real progress depends on addressing the challenges that remain. It means rooting out the corruption that weakens civic life.
Obama was speaking in Kogelo, Siaya County, while launching the first African-American president of the United States inaugurated Sauti Kuu Foundation, Sports, Resource and Vocational Training Center, which was founded by his sister, Dr. Alma Obama.
We opened Sauti Kuu's Foundation Sports, Resource and Vocational Training Center. I had a chance to look around, and it is a remarkable space. It's a community space, a library, a computer lab, a vocational center, a football pitch, and I'm very happy to see there's also a basketball court.
During the center's opening, founder Alma Obama emphasized the need for the youth to be more deliberate in detaching themselves from the beggar syndrome that has seemingly become a norm in the country.
I spoke in an interview about the syndrome of gonya gonya, and I'm adding to it konya konya. That means actually unbind me, untie me, help me, give me, give me. I don't want my community to be a begging community. I got a lot of flack for it because people got annoyed and said, why am I calling Luos beggars? I'm not calling Luos beggars. I'm telling Luos we need to start taking care of ourselves.
Alma had found herself on the receiving end on social media after she criticized Kenyans' behavior of relying on aid instead of working hard to change their lives. In her defense, she said Sauti Kuu is an example of a means to helping educate locals to harness their talent and use local resources to improve their lives.
In the city, if you don't have the money, if you're not equipped, you end up in a slum. And in the slum, you get nothing. But what I will do with you, if you work with me, we'll try to create those spaces here. And that's what we've done with the Sauti Kuu Center. We've created the spaces.
One of the core missions of the Sauti Kuu Foundation is promoting economic development in rural Kenya. The center is said to have a capacity of reaching out to up to 800 people in just 1 week in an aim at training the youth in building up their own livelihoods. Mel Miendo, NTV, Nairobi.
So that was inside the Sauti Kuu Foundation. Outside, the residents had lined up out here for a record 11 hours, waiting to see their land's most famous son and hoping to wave or maybe get even a wave from him. That did not happen. And they were livid. They even attempted to go into the venue. But we sampled some of the views there, and this is what they had to say.
Lakini kuingia pale ni balaa. Tena unaambiwa hata Kogelo kuingia pale pako uwe na ticket. Tena shindwa hii project ni ya Kogelo ama ni ya wapi?
A lot of people having degrees, and therefore what we expect from his coming is that if he can organize for us scholarship, as per my writing here, we be the international figures like him.
Sema Obama ninaenda. Obama amekuja pale chochote kuona ile watu wako nayo, ile watu hakuna nayo, ile iko watu katikati kama mimi. Shida ya nyumba sina nayo. nyumba imeanguka chini.
Kitu yenye ningependa kumwambia atutengeneze hizi industrials wenye wanaitengeneza ama hizi kampuni yenye tunasikia inatengenezwa, sisi kama mayouth tupate kazi na wengine pia wapate kazi.
We feel we don't have sponsors. This is what I would rather say, tell Obama. We don't have sponsors, but we have potential. Yeah, here we are very rich, bright, and we are also many. Yeah, so at least we want sponsors.
Great that is coming back. We feel great that he's recognized that he's a native of this land. We're proud of him. But the way that program have been taken as the youth, Obama was like, he's been like a role model to the youth in everything that is done in his presidency. He's been a good example. But at the same time, we have to say that we feel disappointed that we were not involved in everything that had been going on in this area.
Most of the residents did not manage to see the former US president. In fact, he decided to use a decoy convoy to evade them, and some of them almost took matters into their own hands, and there was almost a security breach. Ouko Kusa is joining me from Kisumu. Ouko, they almost decided to just storm in, right?
Well, Trevor, yeah, that nearly happened. There was that stampede there at the tail end of the... Well, Trevor, yeah, as I've said there, that nearly happened. There was that stampede at the tail end of the visit, but all was sorted out after the General Service Unit personnel moved in swiftly to disperse the aggressive crowd that had gathered outside there. But of course, that did not also shadow the fact that there was a lot of dance and song from the people who turned up to meet Obama today. Unfortunately, they didn't really get to see him, but that did not actually dampen their spirit. You saw them come out there in different colors. And all that is captured in this piece that I prepared earlier. Check out.
Trouble started after the crowd that had gathered outside the main entrance to the center, hoping to catch a glimpse of the former head of state, realized that Obama had actually used a decoy convoy to evade it. Nobody was injured during the commotion, which lasted for a few minutes. The hide-and-seek games began in the morning after Obama's entourage made its way to Mama Sarah Obama's homestead. While a group of women and students of both Senator Barack Obama's secondary school and the primary wing waited by the roadside to receive Kogelo's most famous son, his convoy took an alternative route to avoid the exuberant crowd. But the evasion did not dampen the spirit of Kogelo residents. They danced and sang songs in praise of Obama while displaying all kinds of paraphernalia as the event went on. GSU officers guarding the venue worked overtime to bar the excited villagers from the venue. Petron Lakinyi was among those who traveled from far to meet the former president, but was turned away.
Mimi hapana mtu mbaya, mimi hapana kubeba kitu mbaya, mimi mtu ya Kristo, mimi naomba kanisa ya Lejo Maria huko ya Wagai inaitwa St. Gabriel Wagai.
I want to smile.
Traders made brisk business, selling all manner of items and services. Ouko Kusa, NTV.
Well, that is it from me here in Kisumu County. And now let's cross over to Seth Olale, who is in Nairobi, for more of the stories regarding Barack Obama's visit.
Well, thank you so much, Oko Kusa, and say hi to the people from the lakeside there in Kisumu City. And Kenya could not have lost billions of shillings if the 2015 anti-graft agreement signed between US government and the Kenyan government would have been fully implemented. Remember that this agreement was signed 3 years ago at State House, Nairobi, when Barack Obama came in as the head of state. Let's now remind ourselves on the details of that particular agreement could have saved Kenya billions of shillings.
Kenyans had hoped that the 29-point anti-corruption plan that was at the core of the then US President Barack Obama's official tour of the country would at least curb, if not completely eradicate, graft. However, exactly 3 years since the idea was unveiled on paper at State House, Nairobi, it remains a false dawn for taxpayers.
If someone in public office is taking a cut that they don't deserve, that's taking away from those who are paying their fair share. So this is not just about changing one law, although it's important to have laws on the books that are actually being enforced.
The piercing fangs of corruption beat Kenyans as soon as Air Force One departed the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Most of the ongoing anti-corruption cases involving the theft of billions of shillings, such as the NYS and Kenya pipeline scandals, can be traced back to the period the anti-corruption plan was signed by the two heads of state in 2015. The anti-graft plan required the country to fight graft majorly in the civil service by thoroughly investigating corruption-related incidences and punishing culprits. It's not until this year when the executive started prosecuting senior civil servants, including former Principal Secretary for Youth Affairs Lilian Omolo, former National Youth Service Director General Richard Dumbai, Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Charles Ongwae, and former Kenya Power CEO Ben Chumo, among others. Government oversight agencies such as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigation were to be empowered in order to spearhead the war on graft. In addition, all public servants were to receive a compulsory ethics training with the help of US-crafted curriculum, with the then National Anti-Corruption Committee expected to develop a code of conduct for civil servants with clear disciplinary penalties. The anti-graft plan also recommended that a task force be formed to review anti-corruption legislation at the Office of the Attorney General with support from the US government. Under the agreement, the country was supposed to join the Egmont Group, an informal network bringing together about 156 countries through their financial intelligence units known as FIUs. The FIUs collect information on suspicion or unusual financial activity from the financial industry and other entities or professions required to report transactions suspected of being money laundering or terrorism financing. Kenya is not among them. Perhaps the government's current fight on corruption could have been prevented in the first place way back if the executive would have fully implemented the joint anti-corruption plan. What is now left is curing a disease that has tremendously devastated the economy. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Seth Olale. We also had Trevor Mbije in Kogelo, and we also had Okusa in Kisumu. And speaking of the visit of Barack Obama, Olive Burrows, you're the only Kenyan journalist who happened to interview Barack Obama while he was still in office as president.
Yes, I was.
Many people say that he's too polished, everything around him so choreographed and scripted. Is there anything that we don't know that you know?
I don't know. He walked in, and of course he'd been briefed who was going to interview him. So he walked in, he says, "Hi, Oliver," and everything, my brain froze. I was like, Barack Obama knows my name. But the question I get asked a lot is, how did he smell?
How does he smell?
I don't know.
So how does Barack
I can't remember.
smell?
Okay, so this is what I can say.
Yes.
He definitely doesn't smell sweaty, and he definitely was not wearing pungent cologne. So maybe we can leave it at that.
Natural smell. All right, we just want to go back again to the question that we asked you earlier. What do you think is enabling corruption to thrive in Kenya? Our SMS code is 20686 and it's free of charge. Again, the question, what do you think is enabling corruption to thrive in Kenya? We have a number of text messages that are coming in.
Yes, so let's sample a few of those. Zanjay Duke says corruption is being weeded since the courts focus on small scandals, leaving behind big ones like NYS. Corruption is a disease that can only be cured by leaders who act in good morals and integrity. Another response is people no longer work to set a legacy, but are led by selfishness. There is no name there, but we appreciate your text.
We also have Omosh Digaro who says Kenya can change when starting with me and the rest. Also another one, Boniface Chacha from Karamu in Kuria County says, I'm following all the events.
Okay, yes, and again, the question is, what do you think is enabling corruption to thrive in Kenya? And the SMS number is 20686, and of course, that is free of charge. In the meantime, we take a break, but stay with us because we have a lot more coming up in the bulletin. Kakamega County are investigating an incident where the bodies of 3 family members, a father and his 2 sons, were found in Lugari Forest on Saturday with serious burns.
The bodies were found by a passerby on Saturday morning. NTV's Zacchaeus Mosame with the details.
Mourners assembling at Amos Tokoyo's home in Shipala village, Malava constituency. Amos, a primary school teacher, went missing on Thursday morning in the company of his sons, 8-year-old Daryl Tisa and 6-year-old Cyril Brasa. The decomposing bodies will later be discovered 40 kilometers away from the home in Lugari constituency.
Hili linaonekana ina majeraha kama ya moto. it had some severe burns. Hatuwezi kujua ilikuwa ni petrol, ilikuwa nini. We can't establish exactly what it must.
It is still not clear what exactly could have led to that sudden death, but neighbors attribute it to the frequent family quarrels with his wife.
Nilisikia msichana yangu na kijana yangu walikuwa na ugomvi kwa nyumba yao, na hiyo maneno inaweza fanya huyo kijana aende kwa msitu afanye hivyo, kwa maana huyo kijana haongiengi.
Yeye aliondoka mbele yangu akienda, na kawaida yake huwa na baiskeli, lakini siku hiyo hakuwa na baiskeli. Sasa mimi nikaondoka pia nikienda shule, nafundisha Shuruku Primary, yeye anafundisha Patience Academy. Sasa jioni niliporudi ndio nikaambiwa ya kwamba yeye hakufika shule wala haikujulikana mahali aliko kwa sababu alikuwa amewacha simu kwa nyumba.
This latest incident at Shipala joins the list of ever increasing cases of deaths due to family conflict seemingly on the rise in Western Kenya. Last week, a father allegedly killed his 10-year-old son and injured 2 others in Mount Elgon in Bungoma County after he picked a quarrel with his wife. It is still not clear what exactly led to the death of the 3, although police from Malava police station are baffling with investigations to unravel the mystery behind the death of the 3. Zakis Masame, NTV, Malava in Kakamega County.
3 students from Nguviu Boys High School in Embu County have been arrested on suspicion of burning 2 dormitories last night.
In the last 2 months, the country has experienced an upsurge in arson cases in schools. NTV's Sharon Baranga reports.
Charred remains of 2 dormitories at Nguviu Boys High School in Embu County. It has been reported that the fire started around 10 p.m. yesterday. The dormitories used to house over 200 students. 3 students suspected to have taken part in the burning of the dormitories are being held at Manyata police station.
Tuliwapea ruhusa ya kuona World Cup na hiyo dom imechomwa. Saa hii hatujui ni nini ilichoma hiyo dom.
Kanisa ipewe nafasi kubwa sana katika mashule yetu. To nurture this student. It will not be possible for teachers, and I want to say this authoritatively, as a parent and as a leader, hawatawezana na wanafunzi. Wameenda beyond.
The students arrested are in Form 2.
Hao watoto ni polisi walipata after interrogation.
Ile mambo ambayo iliwekwa kuwa watoto hawezi adhibiwa, hiyo mambo ni ilegezwe kidogo, mwalimu aweze kuwa anaadhibu mtoto vilivyo.
The school has been closed indefinitely as investigations continue. Nguviu Boys is the first school in Embu County to experience unrest and destruction of school property. On Friday last week, officers in charge of education in the county held a meeting with school heads to strategize on how to prevent school unrest in their region. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
12 governors summoned at the Senate Public Accounts and Investments Committee will be required to pay fines when they finally appear, after Kwale Governor Salim MVURYA was fined a similar amount.
In his appearance before the committee, MVURYA was directed to pay 200,000 Kenya shillings for defying an invite.
But even as the committee plans to meet these fines on the governors, the Council of Governors has reacted furiously to the move, accusing senators of impunity.
Kennedy Murithi reports.
The tide seems to be turning against governors as institutions mandated to check their workings now focus on county expenditure. At the Senate Public Accounts and Investments Committee, senators were seemingly upset with governors for failing to honor invites to answer questions on usage of funds allocated to their counties from public coffers. Before them was Kwale Governor Salim MVURYA, whom they used as an example to those invited and who failed to appear and have to be summoned.
By the powers conferred to this committee by virtue of Section 19 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, finds that you will be liable to pay a fine to the clerk of the Senate of an amount of Kenya shillings, 200,000 shillings.
According to the committee, governors were not so keen to account for monies allocated to them, yet they were quick to ask for more at the beginning of every budget cycle. Trans Nzoia, Mombasa, Siaya, Taita Taveta Wajir, Garissa, Nyeri, Marsabit, Samburu, Laikipia, Nyandarua, Murang'a and Mandera governors are likely to face the same fate as they have been summoned to.
It cannot be that summons of committees will just be issued and lie without penalties when there is no compliance or when reasons of the appearance before the committee are given and the committee is not satisfied.
In a rejoinder, the Council of Governors has reacted angrily to this latest move to fine governors, arguing senators are acting with impunity. According to them, fines can only be imposed if governors fail to appear. They say this latest move is unfair and uncalled for.
I also have to look at the law properly before I make comments on that issues of fine.
According to the Council of Governors, there is a law in place that outlines processes that need to be adhered to before fines are imposed, and it will be prudent that the Senate Speaker settles this matter conclusively.
To senators, this new move to fine governors who do not honor invitations to appear before them is the surest way of making sure that they account for what has been given to them from the public coffers. But to governors, it is a question that is now posing legal challenges that needs to be rethought before it is effected. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at Parliament Buildings.
NTV Tonight takes a short break, but Hudhaifa Aiden will be right here with the business news.
Suspended Mumia Sugar Company Chief Executive Nation Aseke has been forcefully ejected from the firm's premises even after showing up with a court order blocking the decision of the board to do so. Aseke was suspended by the board earlier this month to pave way for investigations into alleged dubious transactions at the sugar miller. And the CEO then obtained a court order preventing the board from taking any further disciplinary action against him until a case he filed at the Employment and Labor Relations Court in Kisumu is heard and determined. The head of agriculture at the company, Patrick Chebosi, was appointed to serve as the chief executive in an acting capacity. And the government faces an uphill battle in its quest to have interest rate caps for banks removed. The removal of the rate cap is a key component of the changes that the International Monetary Fund would like to see effected if it is to comfortably provide a 150 billion shilling forex insurance facility. IMF has handed a further review of Kenya's performance towards securing the facility to the government before it considers publishing it. The man who introduced the rate caps at the National Assembly, Kiambu Member of Parliament Jude Njomo, is on record as saying that members of Parliament are opposed to the move to scrap the rate caps, and various studies, however, indicate that the rate caps have had an adverse impact on the economy and have not achieved the purpose for which they were intended. And Martin's tourism industry at the coast is expected to improve as the high season begins, and hotels in the region had been hit hard by low international arrivals owing to low season which begins April and ends mid-July.
It has been a slow 2.5 months in the tourism industry, specifically at the coast. Industry players attribute this to low international arrivals between April and mid-July, but local tourism has recorded impressive numbers.
Kenyans are traveling like never before. 80% of our guests that we have are Kenyan guests, projected to even go higher than that.
Some of the contributing factors which the tourism sector believes will increase arrivals include the standard gauge railway network and regional airlines.
I think the market is ready for us, and this year we expect to have a great high season, really good high season. We're already projecting very good numbers for the last half of 2018.
While the industry looks upbeat, players hope that the government can address some major challenges.
Guests who want to come across, as much as I say that flights are landing into Mombasa, biggest deterrent is the Likoni ferry, and that has got to be addressed by the government.
Costs of heat, lighting and power are the biggest costs as a hotel that we face. So we are hoping for some more support from the government to reduce the costs of heat, lighting and power. So we're very hopeful for that.
In 2017, the tourism industry recorded a 20.3% growth in spite of the long electioneering period. Achieng Wimbley, NTV.
And trade across the Kenya and Tanzania border has increased after the opening of the new Taveta market, which has led to increased revenue collection within the county. The county government says it has recorded a 20% increment in revenue between April and June. The new Taveta modern market, which is located 3 kilometers from the Kenya-Tanzania border, has created room for both countries to enhance trade relations as goods can only be easily accessed. The county government says it plans to upgrade and rehabilitate all market in a bid to improve the business environment. And the new market has also boosted the transport sector due to increased movement of goods and people.
Tukiangalia kipindi kile soko likiwa kule, kazi ilikuwa hakuna kabisa. Lakini sasa soko lipohamishwa huku, watu wanatoka kule manyumbani, wanakuja huku. Sasa pia sisi bodaboda tunapata kazi sana.
Cha muhimu pia ni soko kubwa ambao linaweza kupanuka wakati wote. Kwa hivyo hakuna restriction ya kufanya biashara. Biashara zote zinafanyika na zinaweza kupanuka na tunaweza kuendeleza, hata uchumi unaweza kuimarika zaidi na zaidi.
And finally, Kenya Airways and by extension the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport are going to face stiffer competition for passenger traffic given the planned launch of regional flights by Air Tanzania. Tanzania's national carrier will next month launch 4 weekly flights to Entebbe, Uganda and 3 to Bujumbura in Burundi. That is expected to give Kenya Airways and Rwanda Air a run for their money, given that they have traditionally been servicing those routes. It also means that JKIA might get a dent on its revenue from the landing fees it will be denied as a result of Air Tanzania's direct flights to Entebbe and Bujumbura. That marks the end of business for tonight. My name is Hudefa Adin. Dennis and Olive will be back with more news.
Rap Song of the Week in association with Sprite.
Everybody ain't built like Johnny McKenzie. If I could pretend, see, I wouldn't feel right. I bought a Dodge Magnum. I just got signed. Everybody on my line, they want to know the tags.
Thank you for staying with us. And good news across the border. Eritrea has reopened its embassy in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, for the first time since 1998 as part of the ongoing diplomatic rapprochement between the two countries.
This comes after the leaders from the two nations agreed to restore ties and re-establish relations with its neighbors after 2 decades standoff over a border dispute.
The reopening of Eritrea's embassy in Ethiopia comes a week after the two countries